Okay, here we go. Hopefully this works.
It says it is. It says we're live.
Oh, fantastic. Just waiting to make sure it actually goes because it's still loading on my end, but that's part of our internet speeds here in the village, doing the best they can while everyone's at school and at work from their homes these days. All righty. Well, it looks like we are live on Facebook. Welcome, everyone. Gunalchéesh, how well for your patience as we worked out some tech difficulties. I hope you guys are all doing well. I wanted to just start off, first of all, by saying, you know, it's September already. The first day of fall is coming, and we here in Alaska are we're doubling down on efforts. We're always working so hard for people, but doubling down on efforts because this year, this fall, this September, we have something really critical happening in Alaska, and that's the ending of the US 2020 census count, September 30th. And so we are really working hard that all of our people are counted, and it's really an honor to have all of you join us and to be here with us to talk about the importance of the 2020 census to Alaska, as well as across the country. And then to get a little bit of an update from our special guest who's joining us now, Senator Lisa Murkowski, to talk about the advocacy that's happening to try to extend that deadline. So I just really want to welcome President Richard Peterson, who is, sorry, my mom's grinding coffee in the background.
That look. It's a Monday.
It's a Monday. I guess so. Feels that way.
More coffee is needed. Bring it on, mama.
So welcome to President Peterson for joining us, to Nicole for joining us from AFN, and then also to Senator Murkowski for joining us. So good day to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm here joined by my colleagues, Wáahlaal, Gíidaak, Barbara Blake, and Kunmigu, who's here on photo. She's going to actually help us do the drawing later. So we just wanted to welcome everyone, to say thank you so much for your time. Senator, thank you so much for joining us. I know that your time is limited, so we wanted to just go straight to you to open us up. Really want to welcome you to this live stream through our First Alaskans Institute web Facebook page so that we could talk about the criticality of the census to Alaska. Can you share a few words of welcome with us, and then also your thoughts about why it's so important for us right now?
Well, Gunalchéesh, appreciate the opportunity to be with you this afternoon on this Monday. There is a lot going on. I'm here in Washington, D.C., and suffice to say, it's been kind of a crazy couple days. But, you know, the opportunity to be with you for just a little bit of time talking about the imperative of the census is, I think, extremely important. And I want to thank you. I want to thank the First Alaskans Institute for this coffee time. We know how important the census is. We talk about it all the time. We also know that it's difficult to do an accurate count in Alaska. And in fact, it's recognized not only by us in Alaska, it's recognized by the folks back in Washington, D.C. And that's why for the past two census periods, they have actually started in Alaska. They've started a full month earlier because they recognize that it is just more challenging. And so what has always been challenging has been made even more difficult due to COVID-19 and the delays that we have seen with everything from getting the enumerators out, but really having people's attention focused on this as a priority for them. When everything else is going on in their world, they get this questionnaire in the mail, or they get this reminder on their device, and it's like, oh yeah, I'll get to it when I get to it. It's not that important right now because I have all of these other things going on. But this is where impressing the priority is so important, because we know it's not just getting the numbers right for this year and it's going to help define things this year. This is the 10-year count. So this is federal funding for our local communities, for things like schools and roads and public services. It is absolutely critical to some of the formula funds that we received. And again, when you think about the reality of being stuck with numbers that are not good for you, this is a hit that goes on for a decade. This is not just a one-shot deal where we miss out on some funding opportunities for a year. It goes on for a decade. So just some of the updates here. We've been in pretty close contact with those at the Census Bureau. In Alaska, we know our statistics, where we are last right now when it comes to the what do they call it? The self-response rate. We're at 53.7, which is, as I mentioned, dead last in the country. When you report the total enumerations of housing units, that number jumps up to 95.9. Well, that sounds like we're doing pretty well. The problem is that, again, some of the large non-response areas that we have include many of the hubs like Kotzebue, Nome, Dutch Harbor, Sandpoint, Bethel, Dillingham, Unalaska, Utqiagvik, Denali Borough, and Delta Junction. So we know that we've got some gaps here. We know that we've got some significant holes here. When we think about where we are right now, we are in a situation where the 30th of September, just a few days from now, they're going to stop the count. That's what was determined. They're going to stop the count on the 30th of September, despite the recommendation made by everyone in the Census Bureau, the boards, the director, Stephen Dillingham. This request was made to the Commerce Secretary to extend this deadline, and also to allow for extension of the apportionment and redistricting deadlines. So it's not just a question of doing the actual count. It's then how we assimilate that, how we collate all that, how we get this ready for the apportionment and redistricting that comes. And so what we have done is I have joined with Senator Schatz from Hawaii, and Senator Sullivan is with me, Congressman Young on the House side. We have introduced a bill that would extend the deadline of delivery of apportionment data from the end of this year to April 30th. It would also extend the statutory delivery of redistricting data to the states from March 31 until the end of July. But I think very importantly, it requires the Census Bureau to return to the original end date of the 2020 census field operations, which is October 31. Again, we're not just coming up with this on our own. This was the deadline that was put in place, and the deadline that has been recommended. So we've got 9 days left, 9 days before the end of September. I've been telling people, look, we need to operate as if that deadline is going to be in place and we don't have the additional month. But in the meantime, there is a court order in addition to what we're advancing in the Congress. The court was poised to take this up on Thursday. It was scheduled to take place, but it was canceled because DOJ's attorneys missed a deadline for producing a complete record of internal Commerce Department documents. So, this is still in play. The legislation that we have introduced is still in play. But again, I can't can't reinforce enough how important this is for us. The last thing that I want to share with you is, when I talk about the confusion of the numbers and the response rate, saying that we're last at 53.7% on the self-response, but the enumerated number is much better. But I think it's important to recognize that this enumerated number, it I don't know if it's fair to say it undercounts or it doesn't accurately count those who are experiencing homelessness, or who are living in temporary shelter or transitory or outside locations. So when you think about it, the amount of displacement that we've seen since March, families that may have lost their apartment, families who just decided it was going to be less expensive and easier to move in with other people. They're not, how are we tracking them? How are we accounting for them? There's going to be a census enumerators are going to be out in Anchorage, Fairbanks, Juneau, and the Mat-Su the night of September 23rd. So that's this week. And the census office there in Anchorage is working with those in the soup kitchens and the shelters to help with the enumeration. But again, it's just yet one more example of the complications of trying to get an accurate count in Alaska and then throw into this mix all the disruption that has been brought about by COVID, all the delays, and we're setting up for a recipe for a disaster for a state like Alaska, but not just Alaska, other states as well. And so to do right, we think that we need to go back to the recommendations of the census director, of his board, and allow for the count to continue until the 31st of October, but allow for additional months to do the processing of that data. So that's kind of the update. I wish that I could give you some more detail on the litigation. Perhaps somebody else on the call can update you with that in terms of if we know anything new on this Monday. But thank you for being part of a really important discussion.
Gunalchéesh, Senator, and before I turn it over to President Peterson from Tlingit and Haida and Nicole, if they have any specific questions they wanted to ask of you, I wanted to just ask you quickly, what is it that would be helpful for us as Alaskans to do right now to support this bipartisan effort that you and Schatz are leading and that Sullivan and Young are supportive of? What can we do to help in this advocacy effort right now? Because time is of the essence, as you said.
It is, and I so appreciate the question. There's two things. I think we need to elevate this. So within your connections, First Alaskans has a broad network, not just within the state, but around the country. I think it's important to send out alerts to everybody to say, this needs to be a priority. This needs to be elevated. Allow your voices to be heard. But I also think at the same time that we do that, and I don't think it's an inconsistent message so much as we cannot we can't drop the ball. We can't step back and say, oh, well, Congress is going to fix this, and so it's going to be okay, and we don't need to participate. We still need to urge everybody to weigh in and to participate. So whether it's the efforts that are going to go on this week with regards to those in temporary housing or in shelters, that kind of outreach to help with the process, again, I think is important. And I don't think that says, well, we're not going to place an importance on the legislation. We do, but we also know that process is unwieldy, and I think maybe it's fair to say political. So
Gunalchéesh, thank you, Senator. President Peterson?
Good afternoon, Senator. Thank you so much. I think it's very important what you've said today. I think you're right. While we do everything we can to advocate for our elected officials to try to fix this, I think we have to move forward like it's not going to happen. And we need to do our best to get everybody to fill this out. And, you know, I know we're doing our parts and we're doing our contests and we're trying to make it exciting, but we really just need to get across to folks the importance and how gravely important it is that we have accurate numbers for Alaska that reflect the true need here in Alaska. But Gunalchéesh, how about to you for your work?
thank you. You know, I think just reinforcing the message that this should take about 10 minutes of your time, but again, it has impacts that can last for 10 years, and that it's safe, it's secure, it's confidential, your privacy is protected. I think we need to give assurance to people for whom, you know, they might not want to say how many people are living in their home right now because maybe the landlady doesn't know how many people, and they're afraid of that. But again, reinforcing that this is confidential information, I think is important for people to hear.
Okay, cool. Nicole, did you have any questions or thoughts you wanted to share with the Senator?
I just really strongly support what she has said. We deeply appreciate the fact that legislation is moving in Congress and there's litigation. But in the event that that plan A does not work out, we need to fall back on our strong plan B, which for many of us really is the plan A. We're moving forward like next Wednesday is the drop dead deadline. We're continuing to get out in public radio here in Alaska, do as many of these Zoom type of platforms as well to make sure that our people across the state, Native and non-Native alike, know that September 30th is the last day. And at this point, don't be waiting for an enumerator to come knock on your door. Please pick up the phone, call 1-844-330-2020 to talk to someone from the census, or log on to the website at www.2020census.gov, and you can complete your census over the phone, over the internet, as well as the phone at this point. If you have your questionnaire that was originally mailed back this spring, you can definitely fill that out and drop it in the mail too. And we're going to, like Liz says, make this as exciting as possible to the bitter end. And we have some fantastic prizes that we're going to give away today with the Senator on the phone, including a pair of sealskin slippers by Ginkga's Creation and a fabulous bracelet for someone to win from Jared Galanin down in Sitka.
Yeah, Gunalchéesh, Nicole. Wáahlaal, Gíidaak, did you have any questions for the Senator?
No questions, Senator Murkowski. I do want to say how Gunalchéesh Chinan for your willingness to jump on with us today and really emphasize the importance of this message. I'm glad you're going to help us with the drawing of our contest. It is a huge contest. We're giving away thousands of dollars and four-wheelers, snow machines, skiffs. We're giving away quite a few prizes, and all you have to do is take 10 minutes out of your day to complete the census, another 2 minutes to complete our little survey form, and you're entered into the drawing. And it's a big deal, and I'm thankful that you're willing to spend this time with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, Gunalchéesh. I think really what we also wanted to do, and Senator, I know you're really busy and you can stay as long as you're able to. I know you have other things, so I don't want to keep you anchored here if you have to jam, but really we wanted to just bring to our Alaskan folks an opportunity to once again understand that we are up in that Hail Mary stage. We've got 9 days left, and I really appreciate that you brought up our houseless brothers and sisters, our family members who may be struggling and they're not going to get captured in the regular census count. It's up to us as family members to make sure that we're encouraging them to get it done, helping them get it done, and reaching out to others in the community. I'm glad that there's going to be boots on the ground in the cities, because we lose a lot of our Alaska Native count in the city. And we lose a lot of our Black and other peoples of colors count in the cities, and we really need them to be counted, because this is about all of us. This is about resources that are necessary for Alaska. And that's education, that's healthcare. These are the things that take care of our elders and our children. So it was really important for us to make some time, and that you were able to dedicate it to us today is really appreciated as well. Nicole?
I just wanted to also talk about how hard the senator works to fight for basic infrastructure in Alaska. And she's constantly going toe to toe with big states, large populations to try and bring back money to our state. So if we want better roads, if we want runway lights in rural Alaska, if we want to save the ferries and everything else, a lot of that is also drawn based on our census data. And so we can help Senator Murkowski fight for us back in Washington, D.C. by taking 10 minutes. The return on the investment is so great. Alaska receives about $3.5 billion a year. That is a year for these basic infrastructure programs, including our schools and hospitals and village clinics. So let's do our part to help her back in Washington, D.C. by filling out the census. And let's help our community that needs a helping hand through programs like WIC, SNAP, TANF, and Head Start as well. Again, we cannot underscore how important this is in terms of investment on time versus what is returned to the state.
Well said.
Yeah, I have to echo Nicole there. I think if we want our elected officials, our senators, and our congressmen to be able to advocate and get what we need for Alaska, we need to do our part and fill out the census so that they have the numbers that they can show and demonstrate that they're advocating for, that the need in Alaska is what it is, and it's not made up, it's not a fairy tale, but it's true, accurate numbers for real needs. When we still have, I can remember in my early days working with Senator Stevens, and he'd always say how he's going to put the honey bucket in the museum, right? Well, if we're going to reach that goal, we have to do our part. We have to demonstrate the need. We have to demonstrate the accurate numbers for our villages versus urban, and we want to make sure everybody's counted. And I can't imagine having to do Senator Murkowski's job without those real numbers. Let's help her, work hard for her constituents.
If I can just add one quick comment there, because I think for so long I've operated under the assumption that our rural communities are perhaps our most challenging to get an accurate count. And it is challenging, we recognize that. But we've also learned that in this particular count, an area, the area in the state that I understand, at least some weeks ago, was probably the most undercounted, was in the urban area in Anchorage, in the Mountain View area. For those of you on the call who are familiar with Mountain View, it's probably the most ethnically diverse community in Anchorage. It's actually one of the most ethnically diverse communities in the United States. So you have language issues there because you have people from around the world. Liz, you mentioned people of color being underrepresented or undercounted. This is an area, again, where you have folks that are from not only all parts of the country, all ethnicities, but really just a microcosm of the world there. But it is imperative when you think about a neighborhood like that, where the need is great, and a recognition that it is challenging to try to get a fair and accurate count there. So how we do that reach out, we shouldn't assume that we've got the cities covered because you've got access to the internet there, for instance. We shouldn't assume anything in this census, whether you're rural or urban. Just don't assume anything. Just get it done.
Yes, thank you, Senator. One of the areas that I know you mentioned earlier was our regional hubs. That is another area of high concern for us because we know they're so critical to the infrastructure of rural Alaska. And the people who are living in those areas have an opportunity to get their census done. And we really want to encourage them to do that, because we've seen in the past few decennial censuses that that's where we have so much of a loss. We have a loss of counting our people there. So we really want to encourage all of our community members who live in these regional hubs to make sure to get their census done. I wanted to turn it over to Wáahlaal Gíidaak really quickly as well, so we could do our drawings while you're still with us, Senator.
Great.
As she mentioned, we're doing a census appreciation drawing. We're doing drawings Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then at the end, hopefully that will be the end of October, because of the efforts of yourself, your colleagues, and then all of us rallying behind you, that will end at the end of October. But right now we've got 9 days until the end of September. So we're really trying to make it something that's juicy, that our people can feel appreciated by, and that speaks to them. And so we're trying to give out some good prizes. Wáahlaal Gíidaak?
Yeah, sounds like AFN has sweetened the pot with something even more juicier than we had anticipated. A Jared Galanin bracelet.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
It is a 3/4 Sitka rose and hummingbird bracelet done just in exquisite detail and craftsmanship by Jared Galanin down in Sitka, and I believe he's watching. So a big hello to him and his wife Britt. And let's give this away and have some fun.
All right, fantastic. Kumnugu, would you go ahead and share the wheel, and we can have, if you wouldn't mind, Senator, as soon as the wheel stops, a name will pop up and you can announce the winner of that bracelet.
Great.
This wheel cracks me up, because look at how many people are entered into this. When we did this on Friday, we had about 2,100, I think, eligible entrances. And that's just going to go up every day as more and more people hear about the opportunity.
Yeah, we're at a little over 3,000 entries now.
That's great.
Are you serious?
Yeah, go ahead, Kumnugu. Stop that wheel.
Can I go and do the survey real quick?
We have a winner. It is Louise Huffman.
Louise Huffman. If you're watching, if you know Louise, send her our way, or we may be in contact with Louise directly if we don't hear from you.
That's
Congratulations.
great. Congratulations.
Nice.
Excellent. Now,
Jared is a Tlingit and Unanga carver and jewelry maker out of Sitka. He does beautiful work. Okay, what's next?
Next, we have some moccasins from AFN as well. I'll let Nicole talk about those.
So this is going to be for a man or a woman. They'll be custom to you. Once you win, we'll put you in touch with the artist Ginka out of Togiak. She does phenomenal work there with sealskin and otter, and she will make them for you in your size and color. So let's spin the wheel and have Senator Murkowski talk about who's going to win these, because so much of the work was done on foot in rural Alaska. So this is paying homage to everyone who was going door to door during our outreach time and others.
And the winner of the beautiful slippers is Michelle George. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
All right, Michelle. Next, we have Tlingit and Haida Hydro Flask, and I'll let President Peterson describe that a little more.
Just what it sounds like. Hydro flasks are a great container, durable and all weather, keeps things cold for a long time or hot for a long time, and they have our logos on them.
So while it's spinning, I just want to say that I so appreciate Central Council of Tlingit and Haida Indian Tribes of Alaska joining us, as well as AFN in this raffle or this appreciation drawing. Ooh, we have a new winner.
All right. For the Hydro Flask, we have a winner, Kathleen Nguyen. Congratulations to you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Also donated from Tlingit and Haida, a form line t-shirt. You want to talk about those a little bit, President Peterson?
Yeah, renowned artist Davey Boxley has come up with Formline superhero and Formline Star Wars inspired t-shirts exclusively available at Tlingit and Haida, and all the proceeds go to support our language efforts for Hadkil, Shamalgit, and Tlingit.
Okay, lots of superheroes when you participate in the census.
Absolutely.
And the winner is Magan Olalo. Olal. I think I've said that right. Congratulations.
Yay. All right, our final prize for today. First Alaskans will be giving away some cash. We all need some cash. $250 will be gifted to
You guys should hear the cute little sound it makes.
That's what's missing.
All right, $250 goes to Darlene Sholok. Congratulations to you, Darlene.
Awesome.
Great, great gifts, great presents.
Well, you know, Senator, the idea, the idea that we received for this incentive is really based on something that makes it usable and is meaningful to our community. You know, that's how high the stakes are in the census. The census is a way for our communities to get the services that they need. And we thought, okay, how do we make this so it's relevant to our people? So I just really want to, again, express my appreciation for our partners in this effort and to continue to reinforce why it's important for our family members to be counted. As we wrap up our hour together, I just really want to, you know, we've got about 20 minutes left, and I just wanted to give our guests, President Peterson, Nicole, and the Senator, another opportunity to talk about where we're at, where resources are available to support our community and trying to get the census count out, and just any other kind of messages that we think will help our community buckle down and get this. And also want to make sure that Wáahlaal Gíidaak gets in on there so that she can express some of the ways that people might contact us and share information about getting in on the census.
And Liz, I am going to have to excuse myself. We've got a floor vote coming up here, so I'm going to go off to that. But I want to thank you and those of you at First Alaskans for pushing this, for raising the awareness, for getting people interested and making this relevant to them, because they might not see the relevance here today, but I can guarantee you that going forward, I can guarantee you that looking backwards, they have been impacted positively or perhaps negatively if the count wasn't good before. This is too important to think that I'll just let somebody else do it. There's enough people participating. They don't need me. We need everyone. Everyone matters. And so thank you for the efforts that you are all doing to raise the awareness and make it count. It is greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. So Gunalchéesh, thank you. And we'll keep pressing.
Yes.
Be well, everyone.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Be well, Senator.
Bye-bye. Okay, so that was a good opportunity that we had to have the senator tell us about her legislation and then naming off all those awesome winners. So thank you guys so much for those cool prizes.
Congratulations to the winners. What a fantastic Monday for some Alaskans. And it can be equally as fantastic Wednesday, Friday, and next Monday and Wednesday if you complete the census and enter our drawing. So 12 minutes and you can win bracelets, slippers, cash, snow machines, boats, four-wheelers. I mean, the list goes on and on. Hydro flasks. I know President Peterson has also donated a Galaxy something or other. I'm not the best tech person, but jump in, President Peterson, because I probably made it sound not as cool as it really is.
Well, it's kind of like an iPad. It's just the Android operating version instead of iOS. It's a Galaxy. We're happy to be involved. And, I think something I took away from Senator Murkowski is we can't wait for this, for a fix in DC. Yep. That kind of lit a fire under me a little bit hearing her say that, while I might have already known it, to hear that very candid and honest from her, hey, we need to act like this isn't going to get fixed. And I think that's true. And it's so important to, it's hard to put into people's mind how important, because it's just like voting. Apathy can be the death of us. And if we're waiting on the sidelines and saying, oh, it doesn't matter if I fill mine out, it does. Every dollar that gets dispersed is based on those numbers. And if you're complaining about potholes in your community, you're complaining about internet service, all of these things, everything that you don't realize, it impacts us. And, if you're supportive in your community and you have a good job and you don't worry about things, that's great. But if you're worried about your friends and neighbor who maybe are on a program like SNAP or WIC, lunch programs for our schools, things that matter, it's all based on the census. So I think we just have to remind ourselves just how critically important it is right now. The fact that Senator Murkowski took time out of her day should say a lot. The fact that we're all pushing so hard should say something. And, of course, as a tribe, we're concerned about our dollars, but this affects every citizen, not just us, not just our neighbors, but everybody. And, again, if you like transit systems, if you live in the city, or if, you're worried about runway lights in, rural Alaska, it all comes down to the census.
Yeah, thank you, President Peterson. And in closing, I just want to say, the federal government has a trust responsibility to our people. It's a political recognition, and through this process, they're counting how many of our people are still left, right? That's what they're counting. So in their trust responsibility and their obligation to continuously fund healthcare in perpetuity, as long as we still are on this earth, numbers are counted through the census. That's how they count how much money goes into healthcare, how much money goes to our tribes, all of that stuff. And it's their responsibility. They have a trust responsibility, but they use these numbers to decide how much they're going to obligate to that trust responsibility. It's a big deal. Our tribal dollars that come in annually for the next 10 years are based on these numbers. So please do your part and fill out that census. Like I said, it takes 10 minutes. You can go onto our website, firstalaskans.org, to find the information and the link to the census. You can also, that's where you find the link to enter the drawing. If you have any questions, you can reach us at anpc@firstalaskans.org, or you can call our phone number, 907-677-1700. If you have questions, we're here to help, and we can jump right in and give you the assistance you need in order to get that filled out.
Awesome points. I'll add to that very briefly just how much money is at stake. We said earlier, 3.5 billion for the state annually. All of that will trickle down to rural Alaska. But if one person doesn't feel like they matter, or that they're going to wait until 11:59 on September 30th to get their information in, and for whatever reason they get a moose or something else and they don't get it in after all, that's a $3,500 loss per year to our state. Over 10 years, you're depriving the state of $35,000. If you have a family of 4, which is, I guess, the average size these days, and your family doesn't put the information in, that's almost $150,000 that doesn't come to our roads, runways, ports, schools, hospitals, village clinics and those programs that so many people every now and then need access to for public assistance, for hands up, not hands out, but WIC, SNAP, TANF, Head Start. So this is real money that we're talking about. And the return on the investment, again, like I said earlier, you can't beat these odds, right? 10 minutes, $35,000 for 10 years. I'll take those odds any day. So we really want to stress that. And also want to stress that if you live in a non-native mixed race household and your spouse or partner is not native and you've not filled out the census yet, when you do so, please enter your information first. The benefit of that is that your entire house counts as a native household, and that those tribal programs that are impacted by federal funding formulas, that money just goes up, 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 up if you have a native household. So again, if you're married or living with a non-native person, it doesn't matter if you own the house, if you're on the title, if you're on the rental application, off the rental application, if you work outside of the home, none of that matters for the census. But please put your information in first when entering those that are in the household.
Nicole, you're my hero, let me tell you. Hey, I have a question, Nicole, maybe. What about you? We talk about head of household. What if you have a roommate and you have a non-native roommate and a native roommate? How does that work?
Then each of you should complete your census on your own because you're just in a roommate situation. So you don't have any familial ties, and therefore you should go ahead and do your census and they should do their own census as well. That's a really good question.
Yeah, and to that, also question 9, which is the American Indian Alaska Native, the race question, it's really important to select if you are Alaska Native or American Indian. It's really important to select that option, and you can enter your federally recognized tribe that you are either enrolled in or that you affiliate with, because this is a self-reporting mechanism. This is about who do you feel connected to as a Native person? If you live in the city and you're thinking about your village back home where most of your family is, where your family comes from, where you come from, then you can write that federally recognized tribe's name in that box. And I really appreciate that AFN created a really simple form, or a really simple list that you can access online too, so that you can get the name as accurate as you can. If you can't do that, then you could just write in the name of the village where you come from or that you affiliate with. What does that do? It helps drive the resources down to our local level. If you put something in there that doesn't reflect that, then it stops the funds coming down to the most local level. And when I think about those, aside from everything else that has already been mentioned, I think about our volunteer EMS and our volunteer fire departments out in our villages, because they often get funding through federal mechanisms, grants through federal mechanisms that help them get the equipment upgrades that they need. And when we're the only ones who take care of us out in our villages, it's absolutely essential that we get those funds in. So that's another thing to think about when you're wondering, should I do the census or not? We really hope you do. Nicole, were you going to say something?
I was just going to reiterate that it is so important to put your federally recognized tribe. And on AFN's website, we have a regional map. All of the names there have been painstakingly cross-referenced against the Federal Register, so they are up to date from the last publication. It's important also to remember that you're still a tribal citizen, regardless of whether you live at home in the village still or you moved out. So for example, I'm enrolled to McGrath Native Village. That's my tribe. That's where my children are enrolled. I live in Anchorage now. Nonetheless, when I did the census, I wrote in McGrath Native Village for myself and our 4 children. I didn't put in Athabascan because that's not the name of our tribe. That's our ethnic grouping. I didn't put in Doyon. That's our regional corporation. I wrote in McGrath Native Village. If I didn't know the name of my federally recognized tribe, what I could have done is just put in McGrath. But just because you don't live at home anymore doesn't mean you're no longer a tribal citizen.
Yeah, that's a really critical point. Thank you. And what a good example. I did the same thing, for mine. I would say too that if you if you are hearing this information and it's the first time you're hearing instruction on how to do this, instruction on how to answer number 5 by putting the native person in the household as person 1, because then that's counted as a native house, right? And then for question 9, what information to put in there. If this is the first time you're hearing it and you're like, oh man, I think I did it wrong, I don't think I did it right, you can fix it. You can go to 2020census.gov and you could redo your online census, and that last in time census that you complete will be the one that's actually used. So you have until the deadline to correct it if this is the first time you're hearing this information, because doing it correctly is just as important too. President Peterson.
How about if you called in and did it via telephone, can you call and just correct it, or do you have to redo the whole thing?
You have to, you can call and redo it. Yeah, you can call and redo it. That'll be the easiest way, because the census has used multiple different ways of getting information in. They may not all be synced up together. So for instance, they concluded the door-to-door enumeration in our villages. So our villages don't have anyone walking through anymore doing the initial enumeration or the initial counting. But what you might see are people who are doing non-response follow-up. And that means that they didn't get a response from you through one of the ways that they offered. So they're coming to follow up. Well, you might have already done it online. So not all the parts of the census, because it's a huge national agency, are talking to each other. So rather than relying on them to have talk to each other, you can just call and redo it. And it only takes 5-6 minutes. You can get online and redo it and make sure it's accurate. And that way, there's no chance that inaccurate information is out there, or that you're waiting on them to get it corrected, because they're swamped. And this is only going to take you, 5 to 6 minutes. I think it took me just a little over 5 minutes when I did it. But again, that's just another way of thinking about increasing the correctness of our census. So 1, get everyone counted. 2, make sure it's correct, right? By September 30th. Anyone else have any other thoughts they want to share?
Final parting thought for me, Liz, is that in rural Alaska, I know many of you are not used to getting on the internet or calling in, because you're used to having people come and knock on your door and do in-person enumeration. That is what the census normally does. So this cycle is the first time that you're able actually to get onto the internet and to make those calls. If you don't have a personal identification number, don't worry. Just let them know if you call that you don't have one, or skip that part when you're on the internet. So just know that you do have those 2 platforms available this cycle, even though they have not been previously available. Those of us living in urban spots now are used to having a buffet of options, if you will, in terms of how we're going to complete the census. But in rural Alaska, it's just been a one-stop shop until this year. So you do have the possibility to call or to do it over the internet, and want to make sure that everyone knows that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've thought a lot about is the connection between, what Wáahlaal Gíidaak was saying earlier about that political responsibility the federal government has to us as Native people, and that this is one of the ways that we can hold them accountable, right? Right now, during this time, with everything happening in this country, from the pandemic to elections to the forest fires down south, and our low salmon returns here in the state, which causes real impact to our families. There's so much happening, and the way that we can keep having a powerful voice and to strengthen our voice also includes doing the census, because that helps add fuel to the fire in terms of the power of our voice and holding the federal government accountable for its trust responsibility to Native people. And, there's all kinds of complex things that make it difficult for us. We realize that. We know that. We know how hard it is sometimes as Native people to just get through one day, let alone have to add on everyone else's priorities on your life. But for us and thinking about how we can hold up our elders, our young people, get critical services into the communities, this is kind of one of the easier ways to do it. It's not the end all be all, but it is one of the easier ways that has critical financial consequences. So we need people to do the census. We really do. We really do. President Peterson, any final thoughts?
Yeah, one of the things I was reflecting on is during this time of pandemic where we're not able to, or we shouldn't be going out and unnecessarily mingling, the census has been made really easy to do by phone or by internet if you have access to those. So I'm really appreciative of that myself. I didn't want to talk to anybody I didn't know and have them come to my home. So it was great to just go online. Took me a few minutes. I don't even think it took me 10 minutes, but it was really fast and easy.
Oh, Gunalchéesh. Wáahlaal, Gíidaak, any final comments?
Yeah, just double check that your household, if you're questioning, like I had to go and talk to my partner and be like, hey, you seen our census form? What's the deal? And he's like, oh, I already did it. I already sent it on. I was like, okay, well, but just double check in your household. Maybe somebody else already did it and you don't know.
Wait,
And don't forget to enter our contest.
don't
hey.
you mean fiance?
Yes, I mean fiance.
Yes, she is a fiance these days.
I just had to get that out there.
So you were going to plug the contest one more time. Could you do that, Wáahlaal?
Yeah, don't forget to enter our contest. If you've already done your form, we're giving away free money. We're giving away snow machines, not just one, but two, right? AFN doubled down on all of our prizes and they're dropping, 2 snow machines, 2 4-wheelers, 2 skiffs, and we're giving away 2 $3,500 prizes at the end. Like somebody's going to win some pretty awesome prizes. So don't forget to enter the contest. That form takes like 2 minutes. So jump on in there. If you've done the census or if you haven't yet, jump on and do the census and enter our contest. And people are winning some serious cash.
That's right. Well, Gunalchéesh, hello everyone for joining us for this quick coffee time to talk about the criticality of the census, spend some time with our special guest, Senator Murkowski. We thank her and her staff for arranging that and participating with us. And then of course to our partners at Central Council and at AFN. It's so fun to do this with you guys. And also we know, what matters to our community. I mean, these are things that will help in getting out and getting our foods for our families, getting out there and being safe and harvesting. These are all things that'll help with that. So just really appreciate that love and that consideration on behalf of our whole community. Like this is something that's fun. I mean, we never got to do this before for a census, for Pete's sake, right? So with that, Gunalchéesh, Hawa, thank you guys so much. And we'll see you next time on A Coffee Time.
All right, everybody, be well.